This is the podcast of INCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. In this series, we interview extraordinary professionals from the cultural management and policy community. Join us to hear their stories, the secrets of their success, and their advice for creating innovation by inspiring new policies and practices in the cultural, education, and research sector.
I'm Janelia Cogliandro Peyens, NCAT Secretary General, and this podcast is a part of a special series in which we talk with inspiring leaders committed to contribute to the sustainability of arts and cultural sector. This special series of podcasts is registered at the occasion of the NCAT Academy on Sustainable Cultural Management and Policy, organized by NCAT in April 2023 in Santander. These conversations with cultural leaders are meant to inspire the current and future generation in developing a new sustainable practice and policy. I'm here today with Nele Verhaeren, Director of Art Brussels. Welcome, Nele.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, Nele, for accepting this invitation. You have been involved in this very important and flagship initiative in the very competitive fairs world, Art Brussels, since already over 20 years. Could you please introduce yourself and also tell us about your work within this prestigious organization?
Thank you. Yes, I'm the Managing Director of Art Brussels and also Art Antwerp, which is also a fair taking place end of December. Art Brussels is an international fair taking place end of April. And the galleries who are there, they're coming from a bit everywhere with a focus on Europe. Let's say there are 115 galleries in the fair. I have been working for the organization of Easy Fairs Group since now it's already 17 years. In the beginning, I was there as a head of gallery relations, attracting the galleries and convincing them to come to the fair and to scout them as well. Since last year, I became the director of the fair, after having been appointed as a co-director. And it's a very passionate job. I studied art history. I'm very interested in contemporary art and the contemporary art scene. So as you were there as well, you saw that it was a passionate event.
Absolutely. Fantastic fair. And I have to say that I'm visiting this fair already since at least 15 years, and I can see how it's evolving, how more and more international also. You say that it is European, but I see also showcase many international artists, but also I can see the professionalization of the fair in very many different aspects. I have the impression that the fair sector is very competitive, and we have witnessed in the last year the booming of many different fairs. If you want to highlight one aspect that you think is the essence of the Art Brussels fair, what this aspect could be? So what is that makes Brussels Art Fair a unique in relation to all the other fair?
Yes, so we're very lucky that in the Benelux, we are a leading fair, one of the biggest and most important fairs, let's say, from the region. What makes it different from other competitive fairs from abroad is that I think it has to do with the fact that we have a very good collectors base in Belgium. There are a lot of I would say, very interesting collectors out there who are very active and supporting artists, young artists or artists starting their career, but also established artists. And the fact that they're so curious and open-minded and inclusive in their choices makes that it's a blessing for a fair, a contemporary art fair. So they're known everywhere. These collectors are also traveling a lot, and they're quite known worldwide. So a lot of galleries are interested to meet them and to start a conversation with them. They also say that if they compare it to other, let's say, foreign competitive fairs, that the conversations they have with our audience is very exceptional in a way that they have a deep knowledge in contemporary art, in art in general. And that makes it very interesting to have these encounters. So it's an added value also, not only in the fact that we have a lot of collectors and who are open-minded, but also the interesting conversations that lead perhaps to other interesting opportunities.
Absolutely. I fully understand this point. We are in a very special market with a very educated audience that is used to attend or buy arts and is also international, European, and local audience. So this, I think, is a blessing for a fair, but in the same time also a challenge, because it's an audience that aims to expose itself in different place, traveling and attending also other events. I also enjoy very much this year the conversation that we had at the occasion of the Incata Culture Happy Hours. We have these nice partnerships already with the fair, I believe since 10 years. You are kindly welcoming us and presenting the fair to our special community in Brussels. And for the first time, I see that in your presentation, you spoke about the community of your fair and the sustainability approach that you have used in the full conception of the fair. I will be interested if you can share this idea of sustainability with our public.
Yes, of course. This is something that is not isolated only in our fair. It's actually a commitment that organization as Easy Fairs has. They want to be ESG driven. It's very important to be future proof and to apply certain things implement this in most of the fairs. So it's for our fair, for our Brussels. I mean, if we put this label as durability, we apply it to, let's say, if we put it in certain chapters like ESG and we talk about environmental, what we do is we use walls and as much materials as possible. So we store them and then reuse them again year after. You must know that storage and repainting everything costs sometimes the same price as having a new one. And this is a policy that the company has, that to reuse as much as possible the materials. Also, there is the reduction of print is also important to us. So I don't know if you remember, before we had a catalog, a printed catalog, that was a huge, let's say, so much paper that get lost actually, because so many people have it maybe for a couple of weeks and then they do nothing with that anymore. So we decided not to have this catalog again anymore. We also, the invitations, we go more and more digital. We had also 100% recyclable carpet. So we reduced already the use of the carpet as much as possible, but for the certain spaces in the fair, we had to use carpet to navigate the people and the flow of the fair. So this was recyclable carpet, which was the first time. There's less use of plastic also. I was in Basel now a couple of days ago, and they told us now that they followed the same idea, and the fact that we gave actually the galleries to put away their trash in the different units to recycle them. And this is important for us as well. We are renting furniture also. We did also collaboration with Co Forest. So for each exhibiting gallery, we plant a tree, and we're planning to do that for the future editions as well. So one day there will be a forest, probably because of our Brussels. We also encourage visitors to use public transport, the press as well. So we're pushing that as much as possible in our communication. We have a collaboration with a supplier for the catering, who's called Kitchen, who is working with local and seasonable vegetables, so red meat, and these things are important. There were also free water fountains available for that's actually the reduction of these plastic bottles that circulate. Otherwise, we give to the exhibitors also like a can bottle so that they can refill it. So yeah, in the terms of environmental, we did already a lot, and we're continuing to push that further. In the terms of, let's say, the SESG, so the social part, we give the possibility to students to come and visit us for free on the second day of the fair. We also signed a contract with Article 27, which gives the right for people to visit the fair for free for those who are in need who cannot afford coming. We have also Kids Corner for the youngest ones. We're doing guided tours to explain and to make it more educational as well. A very interesting project that deserves maybe a little bit more of explanation is this charity organization with who we cooperated, which was Kick Cancer. And Kick Cancer is supporting the finance of medical research for pediatric cancer patients. So what we did is actually we asked all of the exhibitors to ask their galleries that they represent to create an artwork format of a postcard. And these postcards were available for sale at a flat rate, which was actually a donation coming from the artists. So we're very grateful for all the artists who collaborated on that, and also galleries, of course, because there were 60% of the galleries who collaborated, which is amazing. So all these artworks were on display at the entrance of the fair at a giant wall. And so people could could acquire a work for a flat rate of 400 euros. The money goes entirely to this charity organization. And the funny thing is that you only discover the name of the artist once the work is purchased. So this is actually some sort of game. Anyway, the message is also you have to, it's good that you can have the possibility to acquire original work. You support a charity organization. And on the other hand, you need to fall in love with what you see in front of you and not with the name. So these messages were actually quite impactful, and we raised 110,000 euros for this charity organization, which is a success. Yeah. So for the G part, the governmental part in ESG, we can say that we actually trying to be as inclusive as possible. So when we set out the rules also for the selection criteria, we also give the message to be open-minded, to make sure that in terms of gender, in terms of identity, in terms of geographical coverage, that we are welcoming in a welcoming spirit. So what we also are very sensitive to suppliers also who carry the ESG mind, bear that in mind, and who apply that as much as possible in their company as well. So we're sensitive to that. Also, we're open to discussions and to have talks about that and to learn also about other organizations. So like being here together with you, it's important for us as well to start opening this conversation, because it's very important to adapt your fair to something which makes sense in terms of sustainability. And there's also, I think now what we're doing for the moment is it's summertime. We're preparing, of course, future editions of Art Brussels and Art Antwerp. But on the other hand, also, we're trying to make some sort of mapping scorecard with KPIs where we stand now, and to see how we can evolve and to have a certain, let's say, a target where we're heading, to try to meet with a certain, we have this mission. So, but before doing this, we are now mapping actually as much figures as possible and collecting all these data to see also where we want to see also the evolution in figure, the progression in figures.
Many things listening to you come up to my mind. First of all, the importance of the communication. I would say that if you would not have presented us your program at Education of the Culture Happy Hours, for me the fair was like every year a beautiful show and encounters with artists. But then when you have presented your commitment to sustainability, I saw the fair in another way. So communication is very important, and it's something that also as an organization ECAT, we strive to make visible all the effort, because also from this conversation, it's absolutely evident the time that you invest, because it's not only selecting the artist, finding the artist, conversations with the gallery, but also having all these aspects to manage. So it's also time invested, but
Exactly.
not necessarily the public is aware. So
No.
this kind of conversation also helps to make visible what is behind the activity, the primary activity in itself. I also find quite interesting this assessment and the state of art, and in order to understand progress, and then define target. ENCAT is exactly in this moment doing the same. We are working in cooperation with other networks, with an external consultant to help us in this exercise. How are you doing this? So is something that is managed internally by your team, or do you have an external company like us that is experienced in this work and provide you with calculators and KPI, etc.? So how it works?
Actually, we're part of a group organizing many events, as I said earlier in this conversation. And this is actually a mission, a mindset also coming from the company, and which is implemented by the group. For them, it's important to start mapping everything, and they have a special, an expert on board of this, asking the same type of questions at every fair director. And it will be the scorecard can be used to map actually all the fairs.
Oh, fantastic.
And to compare them, because it's true what you're saying. Everybody is trying to collect and doing whatever they can, but it's important to have the right indicators, and that it's structured and that it's well done, of course. And this is, I think, super important if you have the luxury of being part of, let's say, a bigger organization, to have an expert on board. This helps you a lot. There are also a lot of academies dedicated to that online with best practices. So these are shared as well. And let's say it's the first year now, you can still say that we're in some sort of starting blocks in the beginning of this race, but the mindset is there, and we work in a company where they're efficient and quick. So I'm certain that you can feel already the difference for the upcoming edition, I think.
Fantastic. And so if I understand, you don't have inside your own artistic team a person that is in charge of this, but this is all.
Just to explain you, so we have this expert and who can help us to start mapping everything. But I must say, in the art team and the people who are on board with us, they are very sensitive to this. They're mostly young people, and it's very, very dedicated. So they are already there is a big awareness already in their way of living and working, that they are very sensitive to everything with sustainability. So of course, this helps all the staff, because it cannot be something that is top down. It should be something that is carried out by each of the team members. We're very lucky that everybody on board is willing to find ways to make their specific department that they're working in, to make that sustainable as possible, and to not see this as a joke or something, or like a fashion. But I think it's like with everything, if you carry it in yourself, then it's much stronger than then if somebody says you have to do something like that.
This is something, Nele, that in all my conversations with leaders of organizations come up all the times. It's really the manager that have the vision, then it's coordinated by someone else that support the vision, but it's really a mindset that each single staff should acquire and should have. So it's a shared commitment with a visionary leadership. But absolutely not a top-down approach. And this sometimes I found challenging because sometimes it's seen as an extra time to invest. So trying, for some people it's quite obvious, but for others it's more challenging. So there is also this aspect that need to be taken in consideration, but for sure it's something that need to be shared. In what ways you collaborate with the local organization and initiative to promote sustainability?
Well, we have, for example, our stand builders. They're from Ghent, so that's local, let's say. There are a lot of organizers who need to ship their walls, or that's a whole other story then. It's, as I said earlier, also they reuse it. So our suppliers are also very sensitive to that. Kitchen, for example, the caterer is also local. Our partners are quite local as well. In terms of exhibitors, we also think it's important, not only for environmental reasons, I would say, but mainly to make it sense, in my opinion, even if you have a very international fair, you need to be locally anchored as well. Brussels is a very vibrant city, has a lot to offer in terms of contemporary art. So local galleries, involving local galleries, good galleries, of course, because that's the criteria. You need to have strong qualitative galleries with an interesting program. They are absolutely present in Brussels. They're participating, so it helps us to be a bit more sustainable. But in terms of suppliers, you were asking, so I think that the most of our suppliers are coming from Belgium. So I don't think that is really a big issue for us. And it's the same for all other events. I think in the group, even if we are an international group, they're based a bit everywhere in Europe, they try to work local, to work together with local organizations also as well.
It's very important when you are absolutely committed. And if you have to mention one challenge, because of course implementing greening practice in operations is not an easy issue. Some things of course are easy, like decide not to print or buy local, but other activities can represent a challenge. What is, if you have to pin up one challenge, and how you have overcome?
We're trying to push the visitors, the international visitors, to come by train. So as I was, usually I also fly to Basel this week, and then I decided to use the train, even if it's sometimes a bit complicated. You need to change sometimes 1 or 2 times, and then there's a delay and things like that. It's a bit of a hassle sometimes. But this is something that's very important, because that reduces a lot of the carbon footprint of an event. If you can make it so seductive for people that they prefer to use the train. But that's, of course, a mindset. I think also if you communicate well and competitors do the same, and more people will be more aware of the way they act and travel and the way they are living. It's a bit of a mindset that you're trying to create, but you cannot do it on your own. It's your organization that helps. If many organizations are very aware or talk about that, I think this will help, the general public to live in a more sustainable way.
Absolutely. And this is what I didn't expect that you were going to mention this challenge, because, of course, traveling is for us as a network and organization that aims to bring people from all over the world together.
Yes.
To exchange, etc., is the challenge, because we recognize that the value of our activities are really making these personal connections, and this has an impact. And so try to understand how reduce but having a meaning when we meet, a truly meaning is indeed the first way to help this challenge. I believe that still remain essential and crucial, because we are at the end a human being to travel, but the first easy way to tackle this challenge is that at least destinations that you can easily reach by train must be selected. So we are used to take the plane because at least it's 1 hour instead of 3, but in this case I think you need really to oblige, and this can be in the operation, as you said, of the organization, to include in the guidelines that the staff is not allowed to travel, or you yourself as a manager, you don't take the plane if certain distance is concerned. But indeed, this is the difficult one for all of us that we work internationally. Nele, do you want to add anything that we have not mentioned in terms of sustainability before we close this inspiring exchange? Did we forget anything that you are very proud that you wanted to share to inspire?
Well, I hope that people who are listening, that they would love to visit Art Brussels next year, or Art Antwerp end of December. We will try to make a very sustainable, interesting event, and we hope that you can all come and visit us by public transport.
We have already the date, so our people
Yes, Antwerp is the preview is on the 14th of December, and the fair is from 15th to 17th December. And for Brussels is so the vernissage is on the 25th of April 2024, and going from 26 to 28, Sunday 28th of April 24.
All the best.
Thank you.
We will continue talking. I will be very curious when you finish the assessment to learn about this experience.
Okay.
Thank you so
very
much,
well.
Nele. Thank
you so much. Okay, goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
You have been listening to the podcast of INCACT, the European Network on Cultural Management and Policy. To learn more about us, our activities, and how to become a member, visit incact.org.